Well, howdy and welcome back to Dakota's Projects. Today we're going to do a quick little routine maintenance. So everybody's looking at me when I drive by with my Tahoe, and not for the good reasons. So it is squeaking like crazy. I'm pretty sure the front brakes are down to the scratchers. So I picked up a set of pads, and we're gonna get away cheap. I think the rotors are still pretty good, but I've never done that before. Normally I do pads and rotors, but it's a daily driver, and they look pretty smooth. They don't feel like they're warped when they get too hot or nothing like that. So we're gonna tear it apart. Hopefully our calipers can compress. Everything should be good to go. We'll grease up the sliders, throw new pads in. All right, so I'll be the first to admit I'm not much of a how-doer, so I just kind of burned through this. Again, this is probably the first time I've ever just thrown pads and not rotors, but like I said, when I've beat these brakes pretty good, especially once I heard the squealing, to like just kind of get an idea for how they're sitting. The rotors, they got some grooving to them. They probably should be replaced and got a rust ridge, but they weren't warped, so typically you'll feel that when you get a lot of heat built up. If you're coming down a hill, doing a lot of decelerating or a lot of starting and stopping, put a lot of brake pressure on, you'll start to feel that brake pedal pulse, and that's because your rotors will get warped. I didn't have a lot of that going. These aren't thin, so I just went the cheap route, being, like I said, this is just a daily driver. I think it was like 75 bucks or something like that at O'Reilly's. Just threw pads in, but either way, if you were to do this the correct way, you're going to take your rotor off. So first things first, you're gonna take this out here. This is gonna be like a T25, I believe. Crack that loose. That's just a flat-headed dished machine screw. All it is holding the rotor flat. I think the only real purpose, a lot of times these break out, the only real purpose is to hold this thing tight when you are reassembling your brake caliper later, because otherwise it gets a little cattywampus and it can be a real pain in the butt trying to align your loose rotor along with your entire caliper. Once you get this thing out, then you should be good to go here. And then you can do this two ways. You can either take the whole caliper assembly off, or you can split it like I did right away. I think the first step would be to take out these two guys here. Man, that bleeder looks real bad too. I don't want to have to ever bleed brakes. I'm gonna have to get calipers. These are rusty, but you take out these two guys here. That's gonna be 19 millimeter. That'll split your caliper. Basically, these are a double jam nut. So this thing will come off. Obviously, like you had seen, this is a dual piston caliper. I typically like to use an old brake pad, because those two pistons that you saw on there, those are porcelain, and they can easily break if you squeeze them. There are tools for it, but I kind of just muscle my way through. I just use a big channel lock, get a brake pad in there, squeeze it even pressure, and just hold it constant, and you'll hear the fluid going back into the system. Obviously, you are trying to open that up as much as you can, because you're going to be putting fresh pads on with a lot more life on them. So once you get that off to the side, you can take your caliper bracket off. The best thing to do is take like a little roll-lock grinder. See if I got one here. Yeah, this guy here. And clean out, kind of get in all those little areas. Clean out underneath where this bracket is. Mine were actually in really good shape, but a lot of times these little steel clips won't even go on. It's so rusty, you gotta peel everything out of there. Clean those up. After you take this bracket off, clean them up. Grease underneath the clips, then put your clips in, grease those, put the outer bracket of the caliper back on, and then you basically do what I did, and that's make sure your pads fit, which these fit super good. Otherwise you may have to do a little trimming upper or lower here to make sure that they go in. You don't want a really loose fit, but you also don't want it tight. These that piston in here that slides back and forth, you saw I greased up that slide. I actually forgot to do the driver's side first, so I went back and redid it. But they're meant to slide back and forth. This whole caliper assembly floats based on brake pressure. So you want to make sure that these brake pads can move all the time, because obviously if they're tight, they're going to drag all the time. You're going to smoke out your brakes, cause a lot of heat, maybe light your wheel on fire if you got it tight enough. And if they're too loose, you got issues too. It's slamming around constantly. So good to make sure those fit well, make sure everything's greased up. You're going to grease on top of your clips, grease on the back side of this. I really don't know the purpose there, but at one point in time I actually was a mechanic, hired mechanic, believe it or not, and that was just common practice. Not to use anti-seize either. That's just a mortal sin. It gets everywhere, but it's what I got. I don't know how I'm out of brake grease, but I am. So something to add to the list here. But either way, you want to add brake grease on the porcelain faces as well. Just everything that's going to move that is not on your rotor, you want to have well lubricated, because this needs some abuse, some heat, and you want to make sure everything's good to go. Once you throw everything back on, you're going to throw your tires back on. We'll hop in the vehicle. You want to press your brake pedal a couple times, because obviously you just pushed out your pistons, and the little bit of slap that there is going to be between your brake piston and your brake pads, you got to take up. I mean, it's not a big deal. It'll probably happen after half a pump with your foot, but after you do a brake job, if you forget about it, you throw it in reverse, you go to press the pedal, and it goes right to the floor one time, and you're going through the garage door. So, speaking from experience, I haven't went through a garage door, but I've rolled away unintentionally. So, make sure your brake pedal is nice and firm before you decide to actually throw it in gear and roll away. But there's really no cycle test on this one now, being that I didn't put new rotors on. Typically, based on certain manufacturers, there's different ways to break in your brakes, if that makes sense. Take it down the road, heat it up, do a couple aggressive stops. I don't know. They all have their different ways of doing it, but regardless, go for a test drive, come back, make sure nothing's hot. I always feel the outside of my rim or my hub to make sure that there's no unwanted heat or smells. Obviously, brakes, if you've worked on any vehicle whatsoever, brake burning does have a very distinct smell to it. So walk around for the next upcoming days and make sure everything is good to go and your hubs are nice and cool. But that is pretty much all for this one. I'm gonna throw the wheels back on, set her down, pump the brakes, and we are good to go. Also, just wanted to apologize. I do talk super fast. I do not mean to do that. It's just sometimes I just got a lot of things I want to spit out at once, and yeah, it all kind of comes out at once. So I also did grease this while I was in here. The upper and lower ball joints are not greasable. There's no zerk on them, but the tie rod ends were. Lift with your back, not your shoulders, right? Well, that is all for Saturday's video here. Short little how-to and doing some front brake work on the daily driver here. But I want you to stick around. Next week is going to be a kickoff to a much larger project, the always promised Duramax project. So we are kicking off the DURABURB project. So I had done a part out last week of an LB7 I had picked up, kind of delayed the project itself, but it was a way for me to recoup some cash and get a couple extra parts that we were well needing. So kind of a long way around the problem, but we got it all figured out. So this upcoming week, we're going to be bringing in the donor truck itself. I had already pulled the box off of it. Actually, it was a flatbed, so that's long gone. Basically, we just bought a running driving truck. The frame's shot. I believe it needs power steering like crazy, but it's got a good heart, LBZ, and it's got a good 6-speed behind it. Been rebuilt at some point. There's some AN transmission lines, so some things we don't have to worry about there, but that's probably all we're really going to keep. Got a lot of accessories around here. I got extra power steering, I got AC compressors, alternators, you name it, I got it. So we're basically just going to try and rip all the stuff that's worth salvaging off the truck, lift the cab up in the air, pull the engine, transmission, and transfer case out. I'll probably yank the transfer case out and set it off to the side just so it's not lifting up too much at once, but we are going to do the engine and transmission together. No need to create extra work for ourselves, so we're going to lift those out in one assembly and then get the chassis out. We're probably going to scrap the chassis, other than we're going to yank the front and rear diff, I suppose, but I have extra ones of those. Send those off to get cleaned up, and then pull the chassis out, scrap it. We're probably going to toss that cab out of there too. Maybe somebody will buy it. It does have a clean title, but otherwise we're just going to scrap that as well. And then time to pull in the Suburban. But this is going to be a very large and expensive process, so it's not all going to happen at once. It's going to be a long time coming, but over the next number of weeks here, I'm hoping I can have it running, driving, work out some of the quirks. We're going to do a couple upgrades right away, but nothing too crazy. We're still going to run a stock transmission. We're still going to run stock fuel for the most part. So we're just going to work out the bugs, and then might get a little crazy this winter, depending on the funds and the time. So we're going to try and get all this knocked out before fall. So stick around. It's going to get exciting. Thanks for watching.